But no, Beth, your goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to CVRcade World Cup Racing Zone T Tuesday. We are in week 4 of the open session here, and we have got 3 great races in tonight's Omnium, starting on Roman Arena. Now, we saw 2 great broadcasts earlier today in Zone K and Zone L. We saw a lot of teamwork being displayed, and I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see the teams come out in full force tonight in Zone T. First on Roman Arena, it is a 2 times multiplier. It's a low skill event. We've got a couple weight-lifted power-ups. We've got 1 comeback kid and 2 quantum shifts. And we do have uncrashable on as an ability. So that will help the riders a little bit. But we got rid of the no skill event, and we're diving right into the longer event with a 2-time multiplier. Then we're going to kick it over to Country Rally, which is 3.5 multipliers. So we'll be seeing how much people save for that second race. Now we've got third race, which is going to be 6 laps, and that race will be 2.5, and that is on Saturn. So without further ado, let's check in with some of the racers. First, we have Jenna Garcia, who we know is an absolute monster out on course. Jenna, welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to Zone T. You and I went head to head last a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. It's so fun to race with you. What are we going to see tonight?
Hi, Beth. Yeah, hopefully we can get some teamwork going tonight. I think Aaron, my dad, and I are going to try to get something going. It's been a little bit since I've raced Roman Arena, but I remember loving it. And it'll be fun with the low skill ability in this. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I do expect to see some teamwork with your dad. I noticed you guys always seem to work together. Aaron was in last week. So how do you think we've seen CVR come out of the gate with some pretty massive power in a concerted effort? What type of tactics might we see out of the gate here? Are you willing to reveal anything to me?
Yeah, I think because it is a low skill race, I'm definitely going to go out of the gate with a lot of power. You can get really lost if you don't go right out the gate. You'll lose pretty much everyone, and it can be right off the bat tough to catch back up. So I'm definitely gonna do that in this race per usual.
All right. Well, I will let you get into the game and into the chat with your teammates, and maybe we can check in with my friend Marty. Marty Pakelny, are you out there on stream? He's like, yep, wait a minute. I'm just ordering some pizza.
Yep, we're getting communications going. We're ready to go. This is going to be exciting. We've got Team Cognition out in force, and it's going to be a good showdown. I'm excited to see the new bumping dynamics, right, rather than blocking. There's been a tweak to the gameplay, so that should make things exciting and unexpected. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we'll be watching with the keen eye with what Cognition brings tonight. Just over 45 seconds. I'll let you get focused in as we get to the starting gate. But I can tell you that with that new dynamic, you can't just jam into into the peloton. You have to surge to the front or kick onto the back because someone might not let you. And you can see Aaron there is warming up. You can see Casey, who actually raced one of the earlier zones, having some pretty strong efforts in the earlier races. He knows what it's going to take today to win the race. And of course, Frank Garcia, the man himself, we are going to expect fireworks out of the gate from Frank. Although he did race, I think, 2 zones earlier, this man is racing 2 or 3 hours a day. His fitness is through the charts thanks to the engagement on CVRcade. Just 7 seconds to go before they come out of the gate on Roman Arena. This is our low skill ability, and as they spin up, you can watch them come. Right, he is up out of the saddle, Madi, changing the lane position, using the power up right out of the gate. You can see on his power up, you can see there that he's got the weight lifted. He said, I am going to just drop that at the front, and I'm not going to turn around and say goodbye. He's out in front, has Jenna right behind him, Casey right there in the lead, Aaron not to be missed. These guys are moving out a little bit stretched out here, trying to make connection. You don't want to lose that front group, but Madi knows that he's laying it down over 300 equalized watts, got himself a little bit of jump. You can see here, Aaron is coming around Casey here, trying to catch up with Jenna there on the front with Madi. Aaron looking serious, has that high cadence riding style that you see. He's got his headphones on in the zone, super focused, not wanting to let those two get away. And he does make connection. Now, one of the things you just saw him click into that group, he has to be sure to watch his power as he comes into the group, into the draft. If he bumps, it will slow him down. You can see here on the helicopter shot, the little bit of stretched out, the lane maneuverings that's happening. And as Madi did say earlier, the dynamic with uncrashable as an ability, you will not crash if you bump into the other riders. You will bump and slow down. The former dynamic was you were able to sort of just jam yourself into the peloton and force the person behind you to slow down when you kind of locked yourself into the draft there. But now there's just a little bit of a bump. It's a little harder to find your spot. Someone has to open the door, a little bit more realistic. All of these tweaks that we keep seeing on CVRcade here with the drafting, with the way that the bumps and the lane changes work has been just amazing. It's more and more feeling the feeling on the trainer is like you're riding outside. You do have to ease back. You do have to push on the pedals a little harder to kind of pop into the peloton. But they are changing the lane position, chasing the draft a little bit. You've got Aaron out on front, taking the wind here, 174 on his equalized heart rate. Madi tucking in behind him. And then Jenna, Frank, and Neil. You can say that there's a little bit getting stretched out here. Casey just 3 or 4 seconds back from that main group with Aaron and Madi. But this right now at the beginning, 3 or 4 seconds is not insurmountable. We do have a couple weight lifted, and as we come around this corner, we're going to be coming up to where there's a little bit of a bump on course. If you look at the mini map down below, you can see where they are on course. Those little dots are the riders, and you can see Team Cognition coming around. Jenna, Madi's saying, I am going to make maybe a little bit of an attack. He drops his power up, his weight lifted power up, and says, I am going to make these guys work. 800 equalized watts, 700 equalized watts, benefiting from 30 kilograms less of weight while he's putting that power on, is giving him a chance to break away. He's got a 2-second gap on Casey, on Frank, who probably are going to close that down. They're not going to let him get away. Casey is going to work with Frank. Jennifer is up the front there saying, okay, guys, hop on my wheel. I am not going to let him get away either. But Madi does manage to get 4 or 5 seconds. His heart rate, 190. Now, on the heart rate, these guys, the max heart rate in equalized terms is 200. So whether or not your max heart rate is 190 or your max heart rate is 170, everybody's heart rate is equalized. So you can see the physiological effect of their power being dropped. That's the effort. That's the cost. Their heart rate is soaring. Madi is feeling it, but we know that Madi can kind of cruise around at 185 and feel pretty comfortable because he's a machine. So Team Cognition in the front, Casey, Team X, Frank, CVRcade, and Jenna, CVRcade. We've got Neil there as well, one of our newer riders. We've got Aaron, Daniel, and Kayla, Nigel, Anish. So we've got a few new faces, not in the stream tonight, but on the race. I'd like to welcome you, Aaron. I'd like to say welcome back, Daniel, Neil, and Kayla. Thank you guys for joining. Kayla, always strong, always looking good. She has been racing. She's been joining some group rides, practicing with me. She's been teaching me a thing or two out on course. So if you do want to take a study in how these power-ups are being used and how the tactics are being used out on course. So we've got one lane down and 2 to go on this long course. They do have a little bit of stretched out here. Monty's maintaining just a 2-second gap on Casey, but Jenna and Frank and Aaron all right there in the mix. Aaron just a few seconds back. Maybe Aaron, Daniel, and Kayla can kind of work together. I have a feeling that there's Aaron dropping his power up there saying, I am going to try to make connection and see if I can't help some people. Daniel with the comeback kid. So Daniel has seen that he can get back to the group by using his comeback kid at the time where, now the way the comeback kid works is kind of magical. You get 45 seconds, you get extra power or until you pass the next rider. So you have to be strategic when you use it, but it is one way, and he successfully has made connection with that group because he did not, once he came past that power, past that rider, the power up was deactivated. So nicely played by Daniel. He said, it's now or never. I don't want to lose this group. I'm 4 or 5 seconds back. If I can just get to that group, tuck into the draft. Here's Casey. You can see his hand on the keyboard, his legs pedaling there. So all of these riders are on trainers. Their bikes are on a trainer. The power that's driving their pedals is translated into the game. The watts, here's Kayla using her comeback kid. Kayla said, I am also not going to lose that train. Again, Kayla drops it. When you look at the gaps between her, right now she's got 2 seconds, but you have 45 seconds to make that gap up. So if you were 20 seconds back, that's the perfect time. And she smartly steps around on the lane to use that momentum. So you're using comeback kid, you get that extra power, you make up the gap. And then you make connection with the group, but you don't want to slam into the back of the group because it will slow you down. So she knows to step outside. That's what you were seeing there. Frank here on the wheel right there of Daniel and Casey holding strong. He's been racing. He raced 2 other zones today. Did pretty darn well as well. So making a strong effort here for CVRcade, representing with Kayla in the mix here. Kayla also had a strong racing day earlier today. So Kayla now on the front. Maudie behind her. You can see her right now. Kayla's heart rate 181, 179 with Maudie's 181. So right now they're pretty well matched. They're putting out equal on their heart rate, but you can see Kayla's taking on the wind at the front. She has to give a little bit more on the power to go that speed there. 46 kph is what she's going, but Casey said, enough. I am going to come around the outside. He's getting himself in position. He wants to drop a power up. He's spinning up the legs, 400 equalized watts, 500 equalized watts, and he's trying to just make something happen here, get a second or two on Maudie, test the legs a little bit, test the legs a little bit, and Maudie is going to follow him and not let him get away, saying, no, don't worry, Casey, I'm right here. So Maudie and Casey and Kayla all up there at the front, all within 1 second. Aaron fighting the fight. Daniel, Jenna, all there together in the front group. Nigel just about 10 seconds back with Anish. So this group has not, it's spread out a little bit. It's come back together. There's these little gaps that everyone keeps closing and covering as we see these attacks after attacks off the front. Maudie trying to run away with it, but Aaron is not letting it happen. Frank on Aaron's wheel. I imagine that they are in communication, trying to kind of come up with some tactics here, because we are going to come around this bend and we're going to have just 1 lap to go. Right now, these riders have 3.8 kilometers to go on this first race on Roman Arena with a 2-time multiplier. So, the next course is a little more technical. People are trying to get as many points as they can. What we've seen in these Omnium races is that even the ones with the lower score multipliers, all of these points add up. You do need to kind of capture as many points. And then the second part of it is you need to get enough points for your team and take away points from others. So although you might not be racing for the win, if you can finish ahead of the position of one of the other riders, then you can take some points away from the other riders. So as a team, even if you're not actively doing teamwork, even if you're not in the same, you're not using the same brain space in terms of wanting to be in it for the win, you are in it for your rider. And right now, Maudie is looking strong. He's been coming out I raced a lot with him this summer, and his fitness, he posts a lot of stats, and it's really interesting to watch and to learn from Madi, because his numbers when he's tracking his power and his ability to suffer, he has just comes from another planet. He's from Saturn. He's amazing, and so is Kayla. Kayla herself here, a master tactician. Casey up out of the saddle, drops the power up, weight lifted, decides to dig in. Look at that, 650 equalized watts. We've got a comeback kid from Madi saying, no, Casey, you're not getting away. So Madi has to keep that position and not let anyone from behind him pass him. Madi has 45 seconds of the comeback kid. It is going to be enough to make connection, but he's got to step around Casey so he doesn't lose that momentum. And that's when he will lose the power up. That's when the power up will expire. So Madi used it then on the final lap, 2.5 kilometers to go. Madi overtakes Casey. This is a slugfest between the front riders here, all in a group. Then Madi makes an attack. Then Casey makes an attack. Aaron covers the break. Kayla and Frank bringing it up. Daniel earlier making connection. Casey is in the zone here, right back on it. Did not let Madi get away. Now, Madi was testing his legs, and here comes Jenna, not to be counted out here. One of the things that Jenna's in a really nice position here, because while Casey is hammering on Madi, and Madi is hammering on Casey, if Jenna just can hold steady, can maintain her draft position, she might have a little bit more in her legs at the finish while these guys are covering the break. So if you look, let's take a look. Jenna has 199, maybe not. She's turning herself inside out to stay with these guys. She is beasting it. She is saying, no, I'm not getting a moment to rest, Beth. She is absolutely beasting it. 199 on her equalized heart rate. Jenna is killing it here. So we've got Casey, Jenna, Madi, and Aaron all in the front here. We've got Kayla about 10 seconds back in the chase group with Daniel and Nigel and Frank. But right now it looks like a 4-person break, Casey. So then there's Kayla on the front, trying to make up that gap with just 1.5 kilometers to go. She has used her comeback kit, so she doesn't have that opportunity. This would be the place that you would use it, but I believe she's already used it. You can see further down the way, Anish has used it. Here's Aaron looking relaxed, taking advantage of the draft. 183 equalized hearts. Jenna on the front, 197. Casey and Madi right there with us. So let's see. We're going to probably see if those two weightlifted that they had are available. One of them is going to drop them. I'm not sure if Jenna has it, or we know Madi. Yes, there goes Aaron. Aaron drops his, and he is coming up over the top. You can see further down, Nigel and Kayla are also using quantum shift to try to get around each other, matching it. Boom, 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 boom. Aaron and Casey all with their power ups. They had the weight lifted. This is the fireworks. This is the last little climb. And Casey drops the quantum shift, does not want to get caught in traffic, phases through, uses the weight lifted 30 kilograms lighter, and then phases through the riders. He did not want to get blocked. He did not want anyone to stop him. So Casey on the front here, 192 equalized heart rate, but Aaron comes around the outside, and that's Jennifer coming around the outside. Aaron has the same uniform. Jenna is killing it. 400 equalized watts, 460 equalized watts, heart rate 202. This is a breakthrough performance on Jenna. Jenna is absolutely beasting this. 0.5 kilometers to go. She has got 1 second out on Casey. Will she be able to maintain it? This has got around the corner. This is it. 400 meters to go. Casey on the inside, Madi on the outside, both up out of the saddle here, digging in. We can see down the way there, Aaron dropping the quantum shift. We see a comeback kid from Casey. Casey has got the comeback kid. He's going to use that momentum to come around Madi. What does Madi have left? Can Madi hold that position? He phases through. He doesn't even want to take the chance. Casey learned from some of the earlier racing. He takes that quantum shift, gets it. It's enough to bring him across the line with 1 second to spare. Then Madi comes in second, Aaron in third, and does Jenna. Oh, Jenna crosses Aaron at the line. That is the move there. I believe that he is riding for Jenna, letting him go. And then Frank and Kayla also come through strong. So there you have it. That was some mean racing. Oh, let's see that replay. This was about 200 meters to go, where we see Casey start to spin it up, drop his comeback kid, gets about 300 extra equalized watts here. That way his momentum is picking up. He knows that he doesn't want to bump or lose the momentum, so he hits quantum shift just to protect himself, to phase through Madi. He rides that momentum through, plays it to perfection, saving Comeback Kid and quantum shift for the end, looking good. So that was our finish. Casey, tell me, how did that feel?
That hurt. That was a fun race, though. There was a lot of back and forth and kind of yo-yoing. Nobody really sent it off the front. With that Comeback Kid, I was kind of letting Mati dangle early in the race. As long as he wasn't more than like 10 seconds away, I knew the Comeback Kid would get him back. A lot of those guys burned that Comeback Kid, so I knew at the end, I think Jenna was the only one who I thought might have one. You can get a big slingshot with it, so I was just trying to look for the right opportunity to have a little gap in front of me to use it in that final like 6/10 of a kilometer.
Well, that was a master's class in how to use Comeback Kid. I mean, some of the riders did use it earlier just because they had to, I think, if they wanted to stay with the lead pack. But then that combination with the quantum shift so that you're not getting slowed down or bumped, that was really brilliant. So now, first place in our first race of the Omnium 2x multiplier. You are in the lead. You have Madi. You have Jenna. You have Aaron. Now, what are we going to bring on Country Rally? 6 laps, 7.2 kilometers, 3.5 multiplier. What are you thinking? 2 minutes to go.
This was a long race earlier, so I think the folks that didn't race earlier might underestimate how long this gets. So I will bet we lose 20 seconds from the first lap to the last lap because this is a long time. So there'll be a lot of carnage and a lot of late fading because this is a long one.
It is a long one. We are still watching the replay of you coming across the line. You absolutely turned yourself inside out. I'm going to wish you good luck for this next race. But quickly, so 6 laps, but there is weight-lifted inertia, a path of least resistance, and wind. How do you think the wind is going to play out on course?
The wind plays a lot on this course, actually, and it's shifted from what we've raced in the past. So we're borderline going over speed on every corner on this track. So when you've got the wind at your back, you can slide out real easily. So watch that first corner by the barn. A lot of people lost it there at the start.
All right, that's a great tip. Let's check in with Madi. Madi, you were having a slugfest in the last race, but looking ahead, 1 minute to go. What are you thinking here on Country Rally?
Oh, this is going to be an exciting course with the wind and with so many racers and all the obstacles. I think we're going to see a lot of crashing. I think it's going to look a lot like Dark Matter Velo meets Wizard of Oz. It's going to be fun. I bet we see a bunch of people use the power-ups right out of the gate because the wind at your back will negate that initial headwind. But we'll see people pop the corner caper to catch themselves as they see themselves sliding out as they're just over speed at that first corner. Then there will be those that come through slower and save that for the last series of turns. So should be interesting. I watched the races at lunch, and there were some great tactics that I'm going to try to copy.
All right. Well, 15 seconds to go. I'll let you get in that headspace. Good luck, Madi. Right now, you can see the leaderboard there was Casey and Madi and Jenna. We start in 8 seconds. Of course, we've got that quantum shift. You can see Frank there warming up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Quantum shift for 10 seconds as everyone dukes it out for lane position. We've got, as was expected, we do have people dropping those power-ups right out of the gate. As Casey said, you can see Frank there up out of the saddle. Casey looking a little bit relaxed there as he comes around the corner. That's some experience talking right there. Coming around the corner, you can see those corner capers being dropped, and that is the part where you have to watch not just the corner speed, but you come into the barn and you lose a couple lanes. Boom, Madi goes down. That's the spot. Dang it. I'm sorry. That hurts me, Madi. I also took a digger on the last lap of this race earlier, on this course earlier. Frank there right in the third position here. Nigel on the front, Casey, Homer, Frank, Kayla, and then Madi has a little bit of time to make up. I did misspeak earlier. It is 6 laps, 7.2 kilometers, but we do have 2 wind at your back, 2 corner caper, and 2 razor's edge. So there will be sort of strategic spots where you have to use that. So, it looks like Jenna did go down as well. We caught the tail end of that crash. She's smiling. She's laughing. It does hurt, but it also it doesn't leave a mark. So that's the good news. So Marty here trying to make up that time, but no, he runs into the rail. Not having it today. 2 crashes, might be a little bit to come back, but I am going to hold out hope because he knows how to play the power-ups. Here we are on board with Frank, trying to catch the wheel of Homer up the road just a little bit. If he can make that connection, he can maybe tuck out of the wind a little bit because we do have some wind on course. There's Casey coming down the straightaway for lap 1, using the wind at your back power-up. That's a really smart place to use it because you do have a straightaway, and if he does maintain that position coming around that first corner, I did find out that corner caper, Razor's Edge, I said wind at your back, it's Razor's Edge, the combo there, and then he does use the corner caper. It is long enough duration when you're going that speed to cover both of those corners if you time it right. And then he's coming through the barn, he just comes on the left side and he uses the corner caper. That was the pink animation you saw underneath. So you can see him on the keyboard here navigating the lanes. Lane position is what this is all about. And right now, when he's in the front, he doesn't have any traffic to contend with. So what ends up happening further back when you've got riders that you're trying to navigate around and hay bales that you're trying to navigate around, it actually makes it a little trickier to get in the mix. And here is you see on board with Kayla. She's currently in 5th position, just about 8 seconds back from Frank, who's trying to close that gap back up to Homer. So Kayla looking strong. She can pick up some points here. I think she can close the gap down, get to Frank, work with Frank, and maybe leapfrog. There is enough time in this race. There's 5.2 kilometers to go. There is enough time in this race if she can make connection with Frank, which I'm sure he's like, okay, come on, Kayla, in her ear, making the connection, and they can work together. Here's Frank not easing up one little bit, 400 equalized watts, chasing down Homer, who's absolutely laying it down, not letting go of Nigel. Now, Nigel and Homer are teammates here. And then Kayla drops the wind at your back, power up, trying to leapfrog up to Frank. She's closed it down to 6 seconds. I think she's going to be able to make it. She does have to watch her corner speed here, but I have a feeling when she makes around this next bend, whoa, there, good, well done. I saw that, I'm like, no, those little edges on the bridges. Picking the right lane here, you have a couple straightaways. Despite all of those logs, there she goes. She drops that power up there, Razor's Edge, cutting through the air thinner so that you can gain some more speed. Oh, and it looks like Casey has gone down up the front here. Oh, man. He's nodding his head. He made a mistake on there. He in the corner, he crashed. Must have been a corner speed. Must not have had the corner caper. He's shaking. Yep, there is his, rats, that stinks. But he's still got 2 seconds on Homer. So now he cannot afford to make any more mistakes here. That's what can happen on this course. You can think that you're running away with it, but no. So we've got Casey 1 second up from Homer, Nigel right on his tail. So the 2 CCC riders, and Frank is just 4 or 5 seconds back. And as I thought there, Kayla is just 4 seconds to Frank. So right now, with 4.2 kilometers to go, I'm telling you, anything can happen here. Casey has to be perfect. He used a couple of those breakaway power-ups right at the beginning, the wind at your back, the Razor's Edge, and the corner caper. So with 6 laps, you have to spread those limited power-ups over the duration of the course, and you're always going to have that wind. So maybe Frank has something here that he's going to be able to use once Kayla closes that gap. We did see Kayla use that Razor's Edge. She's within 5 seconds of Frank. Nigel is just a couple seconds up from Frank. Oh, looks like Jenna just did crash. And she does lose a little bit of time there. You can see that little exclamation point. When you're watching the riders list and you see the exclamation point next to their name, that is indicating a rider has crashed and Homer has gone down. Oh no, Homer. Oh, you were doing so well. And Casey is still at the lead by 1 second, but Nigel executes his power up. Frank with a power up, Homer with a power up, Razor's Edge, wind at your back completely. Frank's doing the double. And yeah, he is. He's doing both. You can see the animation. He had wind at your back and razor's edge coming to the corner. Corner caper carries that speed through the corner. Has to watch out for these players up here. Make sure he doesn't get trapped by the barn door. Executes that corner caper flawlessly, well timed, so it covered both the corners. Was able to carry all that speed. Moves to the outside there to avoid the traffic, and it looks like Frank was within 1 second of Casey, and Casey has just 2 seconds to make up on Nigel, who is in the lead. Nigel, 185 equalized watts. Casey trying to close it down, 300 equalized watts, 189 on his heart rate. You can see one hand on the keyboard, making sure that he is actually watching his speed, changing the lanes. You can never let up in CVRcade, and especially in Country Rally. This course is so fun and so intense at the same time. Every corner you're watching your speed. You're watching your lane position. You come around these little bridges, you lose a lane. You have to make sure that you step to the inside. It is just insane. So 2.6 kilometers to go. So right now, these guys are in the hurt locker. 180 on the heart rate. Here's Frank right here, 176. He's looking a little less on the heart rate, so he might have a little bit more to give. He was not in the front pack on the last race. Perhaps he conserved a little bit of energy to save up for this tactical race, where he can actually make up the time and be very tactical. So he's at the front. He's got a little bit more to give. We know he's a sprinter. Nigel and Casey just need to not make mistakes, because Frank will be ready to take advantage of those mistakes on course. He comes around the corner. He's watching his speed. He needs to make sure he can see those riders up ahead. And oh man, they are just so close. 4 seconds up the road through the barn. He didn't use the corner caper on this lap. We've got just 2 kilometers to go out on course. And as Casey said, whoa, pile up on we had those players, they were able to get through flawlessly. When that's happening in front of you, the carnage, and you just need to not panic, as Casey did not panic. So Nigel, Casey, Frank, and Homer all together. Kayla does look like she dropped back, made the decision that maybe she wasn't going to be able to close that gap, and she's going to hold that 5th position. She's going to try to take some points away from Maudie. Of course, we know that Maudie is currently in one of the top spots here. So if she can take some spots away from Maudie, she can hold that position. Right now, we've got the leaderboard. Thanks for dropping that in for me. So if she can take some points away, that's will we set up. If the finishing position is like this, Casey will still be in first, Maudie and Frank. So Casey, one hand on the keyboard. So now, even if you're not changing lanes, you need to be prepared for braking. Boom, power up. You see 2 hands go off. That's where I pressed wrong buttons. Nicely done. Casey did have another wind at your back power up that he executed here on that straightaway, carrying that momentum. Now, I'm not sure if he has another, but he must. He can't go into that corner without a corner caper. That's right. Of course, he's going to use this corner caper, times that one to perfection, gets about a 5-second gap on Nigel with 0.9 kilometers to go. Now it's all about protecting those 5 or 6 seconds, making sure you don't fall into any. Oh man, that was so close, Casey. Oh my gosh. Oh, those riders in front of him wiping out. If that was just a split second earlier, it would have taken him out, but he manages to get around. Frank coming around his other teammate here, he is on hot pursuit. He's overtaken Nigel, and he is just 7 seconds back from Casey with 0.5 kilometers to go. What does Frank have up his sleeve? Can he take those? Can he make up those 5 seconds here? He can. I bet he can. 0.3 kilometers to go, but he's got those corner speeds to watch out for. Casey coming around. This is his rear view mirror. You can see over his shoulder. Now you're back on board with Casey. He's just got a couple more twists and turns. I don't think Frank's going to do it. That was a valiant effort, but Frank and Nigel might be sprinting it out at the line. 0.1 kilometers to go over the bridge. You can see the helicopter here. He's got this last corner. He's got to find the straightaway on the outside lane. He's going to come across. He's got 5 seconds. Zips up his shirt. No, there you go. Okay. Yes. Team X gonna nice little victory dance there. And then Frank and Nigel come across the line. Well played. Oh man, that was heartbreak for Casey. He had to get it back. He had a crash. He was out in front, but now we've got Homer coming across the line. Just a couple more twists and turns here for Homer. Makes his way outside the line, and man, what a race. And then right behind Homer, not too far behind, is Kayla taking that fifth spot, taking some points away from Maudie, who had a crash early on. And man, what a race was woo. Right now we've got Casey in the front, we've got Frank in the second position, and we've got Maudie. So here's our replay. Here we are on board with Casey on the helicopter. You can see one hand on the keyboard coming around the corner. This is the finish. He had a crash early. He made a couple nice moves here on that outside lane early on a couple laps where he dropped power-ups, the wind at your back and the razor's edge to get that speed, and then had the hands go in the air. I love that. Yes, congratulations, Casey. 2 for 2, Casey. That's pretty impressive here. I know you were saying you were going to feel it. It was going to be hard. Talk me through it.
Yeah, that one was tough, and I made it harder on myself. I was reaching for the brake because I was just a little bit over speed in that corner, and I hit the left turn instead of the brake. So my brain was doing the right thing. My finger just went to the wrong place. So, but I brought it back. Everybody's going to study my use of power-ups in that race, because the cadence of power-ups that I use there puts me at about 56 kph and holds it that entire straightaway to the barn. So it gets me 6-7 seconds when I do it. Somebody's going to figure it out and chase me with it very soon.
Yeah. No, that outside lane, I discovered that earlier today, and that's the place to use it, especially having the corner caper right after that is brilliantly executed. But when you had those people wiping out, I mean, I saw the expression on your face. You had the riders in front of you, just total carnage. Did you have a moment of panic?
I did. I was actually wanting to speed up, because what happens is they wreck and then they pop up back in front of you. So I'm like, I have to get past them before they pop back up, or I'm going to run into the back of them. So I did. I had a little panic there, because I was like, I also had to remember to hold my line, because if I changed lanes, I was going to hit a hay bale. So it was really just close your eyes and pray. Like, just go.
Close your eyes and pray. That's funny. Well, good luck to you on this next race. You've got Frank, and let's go to Frank, because Frank is in second position after that racing. Frank, if you have audio, that was an amazing effort. I thought you were going to be able to take him at the end, and it turned out that Frank wasn't able to. Maybe Frank's not in audio, but Frank's in second position. Oh, you're here. Okay, I'm still on the replay. That's why. There you are. Talk me through that race. That looked painful.
It was pretty painful. Good racing. Casey went down. I liked his cadence of power-ups, as he said. I was able to stay connected to the front, not really on the front, but without using power-up, so I thought I'd save him for the end. And that worked with Nigel, but Casey had a little bit more in him. So good work to Casey.
Good work to you, pinging your way up the line there. That was like just 30 seconds left on Saturn. You've got Casey in front of you. You've got Maudie hot on your heels in terms of points. What are we going to see here? Just go hard here, drop your power-ups, 2.5 multiplier.
Oh yeah, right out of the gate, per normal, burn some rubber out of the gate per the normal Frank move.
All right. Well, good luck, Frank. Just 8 seconds to go. I know you need to spin up. Awesome work on that last race. All right. So we've got Casey in the front, point-wise, Frank and Maudie, Jen and Daniel. All right. So up out of the gate, you see Kayla digging in strong, dropping the power-ups. Let me just tell you, this is what we've been seeing. New precedents being started. CVRcade racing team has been making breaks early. Other team members and riders are taking taking the lead here. You can see right now, Madi looks like he's on vacation. He's not on vacation at all. He's taking a little break because he just used the inertia power up. The way the inertia power up works is that once you activate the inertia, your speed stays locked in from when you activate that power up. So you don't want to use that when you're entering a corner, Beth, because that's what Beth does. She does that, make mistakes. And here we go. You can see Frank also using not power up right now, not power up right now, but inertia is one of those ones that you can use to lock in the speed. So you want to make sure you use it on a spot on course where you have enough time that you're not coming into a corner. So 11.1 kilometers on this race to go. Casey here, right, just about 3 or 4 seconds back from Madi and Frank, but that's not going to be much to make up. You can see the little particles flying. There is wind out on course here. So just like with country rally, the wind on course does make it harder for you to cut through the air, but they do have weight lifted. They do have that inertia power up. They do have a path of least resistance, but no razor's edge, which would be helpful to cut through the wind. We don't have that one on this particular course. This is one of our longer courses. This is one of the first courses. That's one of our fantasy courses that CVRcade started racing on. And we have road courses, we have mountain bike courses, and we have fantasy. And you've seen one of each tonight in the Omniums racing tonight. So Frank here on front, 400 equalized watts, coming up a little bit of a bump here. You know, we have 2 spots where you do have to watch your speed. And we're coming into the first one here. Frank knows, he slows it down. He slides out just a couple lanes, so he's not cooking the corner. That loop-de-loop is one spot where if you're a newer rider, it can trip you up. And if you're a veteran rider like myself, it can still trip you up depending on traffic, depending on if your brain is fully engaged in watching out where you are on course. And then there's, of course, the little chicane that comes at the end when you come lapping back around. So these riders in the course here on the front are all very experienced. We've got Casey, Nigel, Frank, Madi, Homer, Jenna, and Kayla all riding on this third race. There's the chicane. That is the helicopter view where one corner Casey hits the power up because he knows everyone behind him has to slow down. He comes through the corners, through the chicane at the right speed, and then he drops some power and drops path of least resistance. Path of least resistance is like making it a skating rig. It lowers the rolling resistance so that you can get up to speed faster. And here's Madi doing the same thing. He's going to have to step around that rider. There he goes, and then drops inertia. So that was a nice combination there from Madi. He drops the path of least resistance, gets as much speed as he can get, and then drops the inertia and carries that speed through to take the front spot by 1 or 2 seconds. Another slugfest here on the front between Madi and Casey. Not to be counted out, though, is Frank, just 1 second back. Frank saying, nope, you're not going to get, you're gonna have to do more than that to shake me. I know what I'm doing here, and I'm gonna let you guys get tired, and I'm gonna drop my inertia. I'm gonna come around and I'm gonna close that down without too much trouble. I say it's not too much trouble because I'm talking and he's doing the work, but all of these riders are physically riding their bikes. Their bikes are connected to trainers. Their trainers are communicating with the game. So when they put power down on the pedal, that's translated into the game. And Frank drops another power up here. So this is another path of least resistance. Again, it makes that rolling resistance out on course a little, so they can just come up to speed faster. He's trying to get around Madi. Madi's not wanting him in the draft. So Frank comes around Madi. And this one, again, these riders can't bump into each other. They could slide out into each other. So they actually have to be careful out on course here and make sure that they are mindful of their lanes, that they've got a little bit of what do you say? They've got to have this a spatial awareness of each other. And I will tell you, Frank is very aware. And Casey's gone down. I did not see what happened there with Casey. That is a bummer. That might have been just as he had said in that country rally, he had made a mistake, which is unlike Casey, where you hit the wrong button, think you're slowing down, but instead you hit a left or right button. So right now you're looking at Casey and Frank and Madi. That would be the finishing position. So even if Casey finished in this position, his 2 wins at the top of the first 2 races of the Omnium would still put him in first place. But what will be happening for Frank and Maudie. So these guys are going to really be duking it out. But I don't think Casey does have to maintain all of those points to stay in that top spot, because he's got my eyes are blurry. He's really only he's only 12 points in front of Frank, or 2 points in front of Frank. My eyes are blurry at this hour. I know it's 7:30 on the West Coast, but it's a little bit later here on the East Coast. 8.1 kilometers to go. Casey has come back into the mix, and Nigel goes down. Nigel, on the chicane. That is disappointing. Oh gosh, that's the spot that kills me every time, because you've got one corner with a corner speed, you've got another speed with a corner speed, so you usually play it down the middle, but he's using right now path of least resistance to get himself back up to speed, to try to make back connection with that group, and I think that that's going to be enough to give it to him. So even if you make a mistake, if you really want it, you can play your power-ups and get connection and make your way back. You can see now Nigel's just 2 seconds behind Frank, so despite that crash, he was able to get back up to speed because he anticipated, he knew what he needed to do. That's an experienced rider right there, using the power-ups in the right combination. So Frank on the top spot here, with Casey right behind him, Maudie. All three of these guys are together with 7.5 kilometers to go. That is still a very long time in Cade minutes. So sometimes I'll race these races and I'll say, that's only 7.3 kilometers, or, that's only whatever. Your brain wants to explode, the amount of focus. And, this is one where, since there is just a couple spots, this is much different than country rally. Country rally, you have to be on your game for the hay bales and for the logs, and you're constantly needing to change, and you're on it. And this one, you only have a couple spots that you really, really, really need to be concerned about. And what ends up happening is your brain can kind of meander. So you actually have to force your brain to kind of like remember where you are on course. Like, wait, which corner is this on? Oh, wait, here comes the corner. Here's a little bump with the sharp turn. I need to watch my corner speed here. So if they exceed the max corner speeds, and of course, it's just evil that the course designers make that little chicane right before the finish line, because you're maybe so fatigued at that point on your last lap. So these guys, anything could happen. They just need to hold their focus. They need to stay and really get as much draft as they can. So one of the things here, while there's not an attack happening, while they're riding together in a pack, whoa, Nigel went down again. Come on, Nigel. That is a tough spot. He must have just slid a lane or two and then took it down. Oh, that hurts. And so they're still in that like little bit of a bump. And then they're coming into the loop-de-loo. And when they come to the loop-de-loo, they also have to like maintain a lower speed, 36, I think it is on that one. So they have to, so maybe Nigel has a chance, but he cannot. Oh, power-ups here. Power-ups. Frank drops a power-up and Nigel drops his power-up, both path of least resistance and then a weight lifted there. So up over the corner. So this is the long swooping corner. Takes a little bit of a rest there, rides out the the momentum, and Frank, Casey, and Maudie and Nigel. So and it looks like Homer came through on that and got a little bit of a gap on Frank and Maudie. Nice work to Homer there. When we had Nigel drop out, Homer has come to the front, 600 equalized watts, just about 4 or 5 seconds up from Frank and Casey. Nice job by Homer here, moving him up. If he stays in this position, he will move up to 4th on the night, dropping Jennifer down. Jennifer, I believe, was in the 4th spot coming into this race. So Jennifer needs to kind of get back up if she's possible, because she's 30 seconds back. Might not be in her wheelhouse today, but Homer does bring it up one spot here. And there's Jenna still working out on course. She did lose that lead group, so unfortunately she's got a little bit more work to do. You can see Kayla here trying to make a connection with Jenna. So maybe Kayla and Jenna can work together and try to close that gap, because it's awfully hard on Saturn. It's an awfully long course to be riding without the benefit of the draft. So now one of the things that happens with Frank and Maudie and Casey, they're all friends, and then they're all frenemies. You know, these guys know how to race together. They're some of the smartest racers. So right now, they're making a calculation. Are we going to work together? We're going to shut this down to Homer? I think right now they're going to play nice. They're going to, all three of them, take turns on the front. They're going to get up to Homer, and then they're going to absolutely just be bashing each other in the face. Not in the face. They're going to kindly punch each other in the shoulder and say, "Oh, shucks, darn it, I'm going to drop you." But right now, I think everyone's playing nice with 4.9 kilometers to go to see if they can't close that down to Homer. But with 10 seconds up the road, they don't look like they're, well, 400 equalized watts. You know, there's two ways that this could go. They could try to make up the 10 seconds. Someone's going to say, "I'm not going to do the work." They're going to look around. Are you going to do the work? Does decide to do. Yeah, that's exactly right, Casey. You're going to do it. I'm going to do it. No, you're going to do it. So they're kind of trying to figure that stuff out. Now, they probably aren't all in the team chat channel because we've got a team cognition rider, we've got a CVRcade rider, we've got a team X. Nope, they're not in chat. So they're not able to talk. Now, I do know that we talked about having some proximity comms in the game where if you're in a peloton, you can, whoa, Marty, no! Oh my gosh, sorry. That was probably really loud on the microphone. That's that focus that really is so hard on this course. You relax just a little bit and then you can see. So there's Marty. He's coming up, and I think he just happened to exceed the corner speed and slide out one lane. Yep, slide. Oh, and maybe he tried to slow down. So what you can't do when you're sliding out of the corner is you can't brake, and that's what I'm imagining he did. Casey said, "This is my opportunity." Boo, ha, 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 ha. But Frank was already taking that opportunity during that time and got away while Marty had that crash. So Frank has got ahead of Casey here by a few seconds, 4 or 5 seconds here. Casey just drops the power up, does not want Frank to get away, doesn't want to lose that wheel. So you could just see for just that very brief little time where everyone was playing nice, and then Marty goes down, and then Frank drops the gloves, and then puts Casey in a position to need to chase him down. So Casey has to spend a little bit of energy to catch back up. Just 5 seconds. You can do it, Casey. Come on. There you go. Path of least resistance. That's the spirit. Yep. Never say die. 3.7 short kilometers. You have totally got this. All right. Marty looks like he's come within 3 or 4 seconds back to Casey. So if Marty can kind of close it up to Casey, come on, Marty. I've got you. And Nigel is not that far behind. And Jenna and Nigel and Daniel are all together too. So this is coming back together here. Nigel, Jennifer, Daniel, and then Marty making his way. Yes, he comes back to Casey. Now Casey and Marty, who've been punching each other in the face, I'm sorry, on the shoulder. Now he's going to use that momentum, come around. He does not want to slow down. He just closed that gap. So now fought his way back after the crash. That is impressive. And that is the smart use of power-ups. But it's not the power-ups. I mean, it helps, but you still have to turn yourself inside out to like puke fest. Like you have to really kill it. And Marty is breaking his neck to try to get to, he's 2 seconds back from Frank. Oh my gosh, Frank looks over his shoulder, literally looks over his shoulder. This is a helicopter view. You can see Marty and Casey coming back up on Frank. Oh my God, dude. Yo, they're going to take his wheel, 2.8 kilometers to go. Who's going to have legs after this? These guys have been shredding their legs here. Marty is saying, I have some legs here. He's continuing on, just 2.7 short kilometers to go. Don't you do much, Marty, because Frank will suck your wheel, and so will Casey. You want to make sure you give them, have them, he's going to carry this up the hill. Remember the speeds here. I'm just going to say that quietly. You've got it. There you go. All right. So Homer is Homer, I think, is uncatchable at this point, 14 seconds, but like I could be completely wrong about that. I like being wrong about these things because I learned something. But Homer is about 15 seconds up the way. Marty, Frank, Casey, and Nigel. And it looks like Nigel did break away from Jenna some, but it did look like at one point Jenna, Nigel, Daniel, and Kayla were all in the mix. It looks like they spread back out. Frank up out of the saddle here. 750 equalized watts. Marty 650, 670. So the two of these guys are matching power, but Marty is is trying to keep that gap and keep Frank at bay. He's just like a gap of like 1 second. Look at that. And Frank says, nope. Oh, no, you don't. I am coming back. You can see he does the work. He doesn't want to bump the tire. So he tries to get into the draft, and Marty is going to try to shake him in. Oh, it's so nerve-wracking. Oh, that little chicane always kills me. 2 kilometers to go. He made it through just fine. Now, I think these guys have all expended their power-ups. But I will say that out loud, and then like it'll be like a magician, Marty or Frank or Casey will just like whip one out of his pocket and be like, oh no, I still had one. So I don't know what they have. He's nodding his head, meaning, nope, I don't have anything. None. I have none. Oh, Casey. Oh man. But you know what? You've got those legs. You've got the Casey Shum powerhouse legs, and we've got Frank here not saying that either. Now on the heart rate, let's take a look at that. So Marty 192, that makes sense. He had to close down the gap after a crash. We've got Frank at 173. We've got Casey at 191. Like, man, oh man, Casey took the first 2 races. He's in the top spot right now. If everyone finished in the position that they finished, we would have Casey on top, Frank second, Marty second. But I don't know. Let's see, the math, 117, 186. Yeah, I don't think it's enough. Last time my coworker did math on a stream, it became a meme, and I am beyond like doing the math carry the one, but I'm not sure even if Marty finishes. Yeah, if Marty finishes in front of the Frank, you can see it right there. He's not going to be able to take over Frank. Okay, but this is going to be a sprint to the finish. This is going to be 0.9 kilometers, absolute fireworks. This is all going to be for, I think Jesper says, who's going to risk it for a biscuit? Because you do have that little chicane at the end. And we saw earlier today that people took it pretty conservatively. So if the standings aren't going to be shaken up at the end, who's going to bring it? Ooh, who's going to bring it? All right. So Homer at the front of the race. He is 7 seconds up from Marty, but you know what? Marty with 500 equalized watts. Marty is like killing it. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. He watches his corner speed. Watches going to be 0.5 kilometers ago. Homer drops his power up, his weight lifted, his path of least resistance here, 680 equalized watts for Homer. Absolutely crushing it. He kind of, when all that congestion happened, Homer just saw the opportunity and stepped out and took the lead. So Homer's going to take this race unless Monty can make that up in 200 yards. I don't think. Casey comes around Frank on the inside here. Casey up the climb, head down, knows he's got that little corner, has to watch the speed for the chicane. His hand's probably going to go to, and his hand was going to go to the to the keyboard to slow down. Homer comes across the line. There's Homer. All right, back on board with Marty. Marty is coming around the little chicane, and I don't think Casey's going to catch him. Nope, Casey's got about 10 seconds back. Marty knows he can take it casually through the line, and then Casey hammered past Frank just 4 or 5 seconds, and Frank will take the 4th position. But again, as we said there, with the points, I didn't do the math out loud. I cheated and saw the leaderboard. I knew that the finishing position would have put Casey, Frank, and Marty, and then Homer moved up to 4th with that super strong finish on the day. Nigel is going to be coming across the line momentarily. Awesome job here. Back to the replay. Look at that face on Monty Pekelny from Team Cognition. At the end there, Casey comes on the inside of Frank. Casey head down, digging in, reckless abandon. This is like all the mustard, everything he has on the power, on the pedals here, that pain on his face, and he wins the night. So those were the three races tonight, and that was Homer taking first place, moving him up to 4th position. Congratulations, Homer. And then, of course, Casey came across the line second. So for tonight's racing, for the Omnium, Casey had 2 top spots and 1 second spot. So Casey had such a great night of racing. Frank had a great night of racing. Marty, Casey, talk to me. If you've caught your breath.
That last one was tough. By my own making a little bit. I mean, we all made mistakes, which I kind of equalized in the end. But you kind of missed it when Marty wrecked. I attacked on the hill. So I slowed down for that corner at the bottom of the hill. And as soon as I got slow and stopped sliding in the corner, I sprinted, put my head down. I sprinted hard enough that I continued to slide out after I had grabbed in a lane, and I ended up wrecking.
Oh, I did miss it. Yep.
I had a breakaway going there, and I think I had Frank drop too. And I slid out, and then I went to use the path of least resistance to catch up at the start-finish line, and I accidentally hit the inertia coming out of the S-turn, so I hit the inertia at 27 kph. So I'm like, hey, I gave up 2 of my key moments there, but kudos to Marty and Frank. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we kind of rode together there, but I'm pretty sure they were at the same point I was there. I didn't have anything to attack them at that point. I was just hoping to stay with them.
Let's just sit in, guys, and relax for a little bit. I did see one of the mistakes there on, and I figured you must have hit the wrong button, which I've done that, which is super frustrating. But yeah, man, I thought gosh, what a good race. So will you be racing Saturday?
I'm not racing Saturday. I am loading my bike up with camping gear, and we're riding about 50 miles, camping overnight, and riding home the next day. So, yeah, we're going to be riding outside, but I will be here Thursday. I should be here for both races Thursday.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Well, congratulations on your win tonight. We will check in with Frank as these replays go. Hey, Frank, congratulations on some great racing tonight.
Hey, how's it going, Beth? Oh.
Good.
So I think interesting racing, interesting tactics tonight. Nigel did a little blocking, which I thought was really good, but that sort of galvanized me, Casey, and Marty at the one point to sort of keep him at bay, and that worked out pretty well. I think Marty beat Homer by 0.4 points in the Omnium. That's a heartbreak. But Marty dug really deep. I certainly didn't have enough to stay with him, and Casey didn't have enough as well. So that last one was long. Whew.
Yeah, it was. I was saying, I don't know if you were listening to the stream, but how, like, you know, when I was like, just 7.3 kilometers to go, only in Cade when you're like 7.3 kilometers does not feel short at the end of a three race Omnium.
Well, I saw Homer go, and I was like, oh, you know, Homer's doing one of his patented moves. So, you know, when Homer flips the switch, it's all the way to the finish line. And I thought, if I could just hang, that's a good wheel to be on, and it would have been. Only he rode me right off the wheel, so no hope there. So great job to Homer.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun to watch, and that little point where I thought you guys were going to work together to maybe close it down to Homer, and then I was looking at the finishing positions. I'm like, they don't really need to do that right now, but super fun racing. What are we going to see? That's not what I was going to ask you. So with this new dynamic, we saw a couple new things in tonight's racing. The new dynamic on the low skill event, we saw, you know, some different combinations of power ups on country rally. What are some of your impressions of these new dynamics that we're seeing?
I thought the new dynamics worked really, really well. So, you know, I always give Nigel a hard time, but he actually did a really good job with his blocking. I thought it was pretty much spot on. I think he might have wrecked once when he tried it in one of the higher skill events. But I thought it worked really well. So I thought it was a great balance. You can block, but it's not easy. You can get by it. You can, you know, it holds you out. If there's a pace line, you can't get back in. So I thought the dynamics were really good. So the gameplay changes, you know, worked out really well. And while we might have conspired a little bit against Nigel, it was, you know, in good fun, not, you know, sort of, you know, the anger when somebody, you know, blocks you, you know, 15 times in a row. And I think you've been there, Beth. So I think gameplay, so I think the gameplay dynamics are much, much better. Nigel got me one time, you know, he took quite a bit of momentum off of me, and, you know, I had to smile to myself. But later on, that makes you go a little bit harder to keep him off your wheel. So good fun.
Yeah, it was a great night of racing. Congratulations, Frank. We'll check in with our other podium winner here, Marty Bakelny, Team Cognition. What fun racing. And I say what fun racing. I hope you had as much fun. You guys all look like you were in pain and suffering, but having the best time. Talk me through it.
That was awesome. I got a great workout on that, but I also did a ton of math in my head. I realized when Frank and Casey and I were off the front that I had no way of finishing ahead of them on the podium, and I was stuck in third. And it reminded me of a couple months ago when I went off the front with Tim Fulford, who was ahead of me on Dust Bowl Crit, and I caught a lot of flack after that. So I tried to slow our group down, thinking that maybe I could get Nigel and Homer ahead of us, which might allow me to come in second or first. But as soon as we slowed down enough for Homer to catch us, I realized that Homer was riding me off of third place if he finished ahead of me and Casey or Frank finished ahead of me. And then it became, oh no, what have I done? Now I've got to beat and Casey and hope that Homer stays away to stay in third. So it was 0 to hero and hero to zero like 5 times in my head as I was pedaling around Saturn in outer space. It doesn't get better than that at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night while the kids are asleep and there's dinner and a beer in the fridge. So can't beat it.
I love it. Well, it was really fun to watch, and I hadn't actually I had seen that Homer had come up on the leaderboard, and I hadn't done the advanced calculation. You are a math teacher, is that correct? You are.
No,
so you had the.
If I was a math teacher, I'd be asleep right now, probably. Or I would have saved myself a lot of suffering on that final race. I almost lost the race for myself by trying to bring Nigel and Homer back and get myself off the podium to make a short story of a long saga. But it was really fun, and Frank and Casey were right. Homer just flipped the switch once he got to the front, and there was no catching him. Congrats to Casey on the overall. It's 6 laps of Saturn is really a long race to end an Omnium. It was a great workout and a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for racing. Thanks for streaming. Congratulations on a great night. That is going to wrap it up for us here on CVRcade. Our 4th week of our open session for World Cup racing. We will be starting in the bracket session, but let's take a look at the replays. We started the night on Roman Arena, 9.6 kilometers here. We're on board here with Madi, who started with the attack out of the gate on the race, and then it was a slugfest with Madi and Casey all the way, and Frank all the way to the end on this race. That was a 2-time score multiplier. There was a weight lifted, there was quantum shift, there was comeback kid, and here's Kayla using the comeback kid, trying to close the gap between the chase group and the lead group, and that was well executed to try to get herself back into the mix. And then we had Casey using his weight lifted power up strategically on the attack right before the climb, trying to make something happen, trying to get away. We saw the quantum shift being used to protect from a block coming around, holding onto that momentum up over the hill, not wanting to be blocked. Casey doing some really smart racing. And then in the end, it came down to this move right here by Casey. He let Madi get a little bit ahead of him, dropped his comeback kid, spun up the legs, used the momentum, quantum shift to cut through to avoid the block, not lose the momentum. And that was how he won the race, matching attacks, doing the attacks, and then saving the right combination of power-ups for the end. Then we went on to Country Rally, a 3.5 multiplier, 6-lap track here. Madi early on takes a crash. That was a painful one to see into the barn door. Frank was about middle of the pack, but kind of worked his way up the line, overtaking one rider at a time. Jenna had a really good race coming into Country Rally, had an early crash and kind of took her out of the top 5 spots. But Madi coming back from that crash early, suffered from another one, a couple mistakes in there, but still managed to podium for the night. Casey, the story was about Casey and his combination of power-ups on the straightaway, heading into the corner, Razor's Edge, a power weight lifted, Razor's Edge, wind at your back, and corner caper was the combo. And he did have a crash crash where he said he hit the lane change button instead of the arrow down button and did have a crash. Here's Frank using his corner caper to perfection, knowing he needed to kind of keep the pressure down to keep making his way up the list here. But again, Casey, knowing the right time to play the wind at your back and Razor's Edge, knowing the time that he can make up the speed. There was wind out on this course, so already it's a technical course. Lots of corners, lots of obstacles. He puts his head down for a minute and puts it right back up because he knows here you cannot put your head down and suffer. You do have to be on your game the whole time. And at the end, he recovered from his crash, zips up the jersey, gives us a nice little victory, arms in the air. Congratulations for that. Then we came on to Saturn. And as we just saw on the Saturn race, man, 6 laps on Saturn is a killer. Again, Madi takes the attack early on the gate, out of the gate, and then we did see a couple times, a couple mistakes out on course, but again, coming through that chicane when people were slowing down, Casey dropped the power-ups at the right moment to try to get a little bit of an attack on. Up the climb here, we did have, that was, I think, the mistake that Casey was referring to where he did have a crash. So mistakes were made, but it wasn't enough to cost him the night. Casey did end up on top here, but the three, Casey, Madi, and Frank, kind of playing nicely together for about 10 seconds. Then they had some congestion on this corner. Madi went down, and then I think that was the point where Homer was able to take that opportunity, make a little bit of an attack, and come, that's the one right there, that we had the crash there, then make his way and just drop the hammer and just take it to the line for the first place with Homer, moving Homer up overall on the night to 4th position. But we did, that was him when he dropped the inertia power up with not enough speed. You could see that he was not happy with a couple of his moves. You know, having these guys on stream is just so super fun. Just seeing their reactions, the suffering, the interplay, knowing that they are so engaged in the racing, that they're working so hard, head down here. He knows at this point he could do his head down here, but he knew he had it, and he knew he didn't want to lose his position at the top spot. We did see Homer come across the line first, moving him, just inching him up into 4th place, kicking Jenna to 5th, and then Madi was able to maintain 3rd, but then Casey comes across the line. So Casey for the night, win-win and a 2nd place finish, secures him the Omnium in race 4 here on the open season of CVRcade World Cup. Man, that was some exciting racing. I had the benefit of racing earlier today, racing a couple of the races in the Omnium, and it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. It's so fun to watch. It is so engaging. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you saw, please follow us, like us. We will be back here on Thursday. We'll be broadcasting K, L, and T zones, and those times are 1 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. Eastern. So check the calendar, check our Facebook page. Please join us. You can download the game at CVRcade.com. It's free to play. Join us, have fun, and we will see you right back here on Mixer on Thursday for Zone K at 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Until then, from everyone from CVRcade, thanks for watching and have a great night.
But no, Beth, your goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to, and she has unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels, Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.